What does his text mean?
So frustrating.
Maybe he's just not that into me.
She really likes
I've
me.
always been bad
How
at
can I get her
flirting.
attention?
I'm ready for
I just
marriage.
want somebody to share my life.
Is this
This
relationship
relationship
going
going
anywhere?
anywhere? Modern Love Made Simple. This is Dates and Mates with Damona Hoffman.
Hello, lovers. Welcome to Dates and Mates. We are here to demystify modern love for you today. And I'm super excited because I'll be talking with a guy named John Kim, who goes by the Angry Therapist. I know you think therapists aren't supposed to be angry, but he's angry because he wants you to do the right thing in your relationship. And he's also here to talk to men about getting your feelings out and letting it be okay to share some of those deeper parts of yourself that you may be hiding from. And I know you ladies want to listen because you want to know how to get your guys to share more of themselves with you in the relationship. So I'm really excited to talk to him in a little bit about healthy relationships and gender roles. But first, of course, we are going to hit the headlines, including the steamy Oscar performance that Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper bestowed upon us when they sang Shallow on the Oscars. Is it proof that they are more than friends or not? We'll talk about that. Plus, how Uber and Lyft have changed dating etiquette and how expecting fathers can navigate paternity leave if their companies don't pay for it. Then we have a ton of questions from you listeners and folks that have submitted on Facebook and Instagram. We'll cover your questions, including what do you do when you still see your ex at work? And can you find love on Instagram? Can you really do it? Producer Leah is here with me.
Hey guys,
Producer Leah, are we ready to dish?
we are ready to dish.
Dee's dating dish.
All right, let's talk the talk. Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. Did they cross a line? I'm sure a lot of you saw, if you didn't see the whole Oscars, I'm sure you saw this. Okay, for the Facebook live stream, we are showing the intimate moment where they basically sat on top of each other on a piano bench and sang to one another and gazed longingly into one another's eyes. But Producer Leah, things have just blown up on the social media about whether this was indication that there's something more going on. Now, Bradley ain't single. He is with Irina Shayk, who is also, by the way, his baby mama. So she's his girlfriend, but you know she's got some skin in the game. And Lady Gaga no, that was not meant with an innuendo. Stop giggling. You're turning red. Not intentional. Gaga just broke up with her beau, Christian Carino. I found this very interesting. She actually has had a series of heartbreaks that all seem to come around times when she steps up in her career. So she says, I sold 10 million records and lost Matt. I sold 30 million and lost Luke. I did a movie and lose Taylor. It's like a turnover. This is the third time that I've had my heart broken like this. And now here again with Christian Carino. So do you think she's trying to get up in there with Bradley Cooper?
No, I just think that she's an actress and she was just trying to portray a role, and like what we're seeing is love, but you know, it's just like she's acting.
Let me complicate matters for you because I saw on social media that Irina Shayk is not following Lady Gaga possibly anymore, possibly never at all.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
So, I mean, I would think that if you are close with somebody, that their spouse or partner might follow you on social media. Is this a sign that she's not into the Gaga thing?
I okay, yes and no. Like I feel like maybe, you know, she just like isn't friends with Lady Gaga, and like for whatever reason that is, like she doesn't have to follow Lady Gaga on Instagram.
No, she does. She has to. Irina, you're going to make it look weird if you don't follow her. So you should follow her just so people stop talking about it. I'm with you, Producer Leah.
Point, yeah.
I'm with you. I think people are making way too much of this. And maybe I'll eat my words in 3 months when we see that he's left her for Lady Gaga. But I mean, Irina's pretty hot. I think he's got a pretty good thing going.
Yeah.
I would say, Bradley, you should put a ring on it and keep it moving. Speaking of moving on dates, is that a good transition? No. How do you get to dates? How do you get to dates today? Do you walk to dates? Do you let the person pick you up? I've been saying forever, do not let some dude you don't know pick you up for a date.
Oh God, no.
But now enter Uber and Lyft because you don't have to get picked up for the date. You can actually just Uber over there. And this is actually having a huge impact on dating life today, because before, if you knew you were going to be driving home, you might only have one drink, maybe two drinks. Two drinks might be a little bit too much, but that's just my opinion. But now you don't have to worry about that. You can get totally smashed and still get an Uber and make it home. Okay. So there was an interesting article that where was this article? In the Chicago Tribune about Uber etiquette, because now it's opened up this whole other line of what is the proper etiquette? Do you pay for somebody's Uber? Do you share an Uber? And they interviewed a pal of mine, Adam Lodoce, on this. And he was like, it would be appropriate to pay for your date's Uber. I say, as a lady, I find it a little bit creepy because I don't want you knowing where I live if I am just going on a first date with you. Am I just being overly cautious?
No, not at all. I definitely wouldn't let a guy pay for my Uber unless I'd known him for like a few months, or like known him, or like we'd been dating for a while.
So you're an independent woman. You're like, I got my own house. I got my own Uber.
Exactly.
You could just get your own Uber and it's not a big deal. Would you ever share? Like he said, maybe you do a Uber share, and so that gives them an opportunity to like come to your place or for you to go to their place when you make the first stop.
Yeah, I'd be comfortable with
right?
that. Well, I don't know. I'd be
Forward.
comfortable with I'd be comfortable with that because like there's another person in the car who can always like, like
The Uber person.
yeah. Watch the
True.
situation. Watch for red signs.
Well, I'm personally fascinated
flags.
by this and how, as technology evolves, our dating etiquette does evolve. And so I think it's a great article. Check it out on Chicago Tribune.
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes.
Since we are talking about fellas today, I just want to shout out the dads that do paternity leave, but not everybody can afford to do paternity leave. And in the system that we have in the US, that sucks. We have to decide between getting a paycheck and getting paternity leave in many cases. Only 15% of dads get paternity leave, according to Dove. So yes, Dove, the brand, they are giving paternity leave grants to dads, and they're trying to make up the deficit here. Now, it's not a ton of money. They are trying to raise $1 million over the next 2 years. And Alexis Ohanian, actually, Serena Williams' husband.
He's such a great guy. Oh my God.
I know, right? Yeah. He's taken. Hands off. But he is actually contributing to this. But they're only giving $5,000 grants to dads. So I guess that will give them, a few weeks, maybe a week or two.
It's better than nothing.
Or 3. It's better than nothing, though. And there have been a lot of companies that have made a switch to allowing for paternity leave. I mean, should we even call it paternity leave? Just like parental
leave, yeah.
New baby leave. So Starbucks, Lowe's, CVS, Dollar General, and Walmart have all expanded or created new family leave policies in the last year, many of them geared towards working dads. I'll tell you, producer Leah, when I had my daughter, almost 9 years ago, my husband got 3 days.
Oh my gosh.
3 days off of work. And that was hard, not only on him and the bond that he was trying to form with the baby, but honey, it was hard on me.
Yeah, because you were like all alone with that new baby.
I didn't know what I was doing. They don't give you an instruction manual when you take a baby home from the hospital. And you're just like, oh, well, here's this thing. And suddenly, now I'm the only one responsible for taking care of this baby.
Yeah.
So I think that's really got to change. And it impacts the employees' success and happiness as well. Because as hard as it was on me, I think the hardest thing was for him to walk out that door and go to work and sit in the room and be productive when he's thinking about when first he got
any sleep either.
2 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I went back to work after my maternity leave ended, which in the US is not all that great anyway, is only like I took like 2.5 months, which was basically nothing. I was so sleep deprived. I remember going up to a light and it was red and I stopped, and then something in my head was like, oh, the light is green. And I wasn't on the phone or anything. I was just this out of my mind. And I proceeded through the light and realized halfway through the intersection that it was actually red.
Oh my God.
And so I almost killed myself just because of sleep deprivation. So it's a real thing, but families really need that time to bond. And so I commend Dove for doing this and for honoring the working dads out there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know a lot about parenting or family leave, but this seems really important.
True that. Well, we have so much more to talk about with John Kim, the angry therapist. But first, my newest free resource is now available. Check it out. Here it is. There are over 100 million people using dating apps worldwide. So if you're not finding love there, we might have a problem. But luckily, I have the solution. I'm match dating expert Damona Hoffman, host of the groundbreaking TV series #Black Love and A Question of Love on FYI TV. And as you know, host of the Dates and Mates podcast. My dating advice has been featured in O Magazine, People Magazine, Essence Magazine, and more. I'm also a matchmaker and writer for the Washington Post Date Lab. And during my 13 years as a dating coach, I have found the secret to the perfect dating profile. I hear the same complaints. There are no good men or women online. Dating apps just don't work. I'm just really picky. And I have to be straight with you. That's not the real problem. The problem isn't the app. The problem isn't the dating pool. The problem is you don't have a profile that's attracting the right people to you. So whether you have a profile that's simply not working for you or you're overwhelmed and you don't know where to begin with creating a captivating profile that does the hard work for you, let me make online dating easy with the Profile Starter Kit. At profilestarterkit.com, I give a simple profile template to follow that works like a charm. It will work as a magnet to draw in the dates who are looking for someone just like you. How do I know? I met my husband online, and so have hundreds of people who have followed my system over the last 13 years. You can do it the hard way, or you can do it my way and let the profile attract quality dates to you. Go to profilestarterkit.com or click the link in the show notes to get started. All right, lovers. I have in studio with me today John Kim. You may know him as the Angry Therapist, but he's also an entrepreneur, a published author, a public speaker, life coach, and so much more. John's approach is personal and honest and draws from his past experiences, and he's helped thousands of men to find more happiness in their relationships and more purpose in their lives. And now he's sharing his insights with men everywhere in his powerful new book. I can't actually say it on the Dates and Mates show, but I'll spell it out for you. I used to be a miserable F-U-C-K, and it's a great book on how men can become more present in their lives and more in touch with their emotional EQ.
EQ, sure.
EQ, right?
Yeah.
So he's joining us today to talk about his book and also his program, Bulletproof Your Relationship. Please give big smooches to John Kim. Hi, John.
Nice. Damona, thank you for having me.
People are going to think that we were really smooching.
It didn't sound like smooching.
It didn't sound like smooching to you?
No. It was very...
Maybe more like
Little love kisses.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get down to it. So you've been helping guys for a long time.
About 10 years.
That's a while.
Yeah.
That's a while. In millennial years, that's like...
That's half my life.
Translate?
That's a lifetime.
I joke when she says things like that, and then I go, "Oh yeah, it was like half of her life." So let's just get down to the nitty gritty with relationships. You have this program, Bulletproof Your Relationship, and I think we don't even know the definition of what a healthy relationship is today.
Yes. I think we should be teaching this stuff in high school. The thing is that we learn a lot of things in high school that we never use, and we basically just get with people because we're attracted to them or because we're filling holes in ourselves. And of course, those relationships end up toxic and dysfunctional. And then, we get afraid, right? So our love stove becomes very hot and then we don't want to touch that anymore. And it just positions us for a lots of pain and dysfunction in our 20s and 30s.
So how do you address that? Let's say you realize that your upbringing didn't really prepare you well
Yes.
for your relationship future. I know you're a therapist. You're not going to say it's hopeless. How can people get more in touch with their, like I said earlier, their EQ? How can they grow and be ready for a relationship, even if it wasn't modeled for them in the past?
Sure. I think everything starts with looking inward, right? So studying your behavior, how you are and why you feel, the way you feel. Most people blame, most people point fingers. I think if everyone started to look inward, that's where the answers are, right? So you could decide how deep you want to go, whether it's from upbringing or maybe your parents modeled a certain type of love, where you picked up the behavior and the mindset of love in relationships is crucial, because once you have that information, you could then decide to respond differently or react differently or love differently and change definitions and all of that.
Well, as we're talking about reacting, it makes me think of fair fighting in a relationship. In the program, you talk about fighting without fighting.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Most people, when they fight, it's a courtroom battle, right? It's two people holding a tug of war. It's basically fights can actually be really healthy if you fight in a healthy way, right? So fights can produce relationship glue. You could learn more about the other person through fighting, right? Hence makeup sex, like how amazing that is, because the connection after a fight can be very powerful. But that's only if you're fighting without fighting. So what I mean by that is creating a safe space, right? Trying to understand before trying to be understood. So if you have two people doing that, that makes a very powerful magnet. And then you're trying to understand the person better so you can love them better, right? A good example is love languages. A lot of people don't realize that, the way that someone loves can be different than the way you love. And so if they love you in a way that's honest to them, but it's not honest to you, you may interpret that as, oh, she doesn't love me. But that's not true. That's just the way that she loves. And understanding that then makes you not get so heady and jump to this, cognitive distortions and all that.
What about if you don't fight? Like, I'll just be honest. Personal share time. My husband and I really don't fight. Like,
that's great.
At all.
That's
it's great. But at a certain point, like now we know each other so well where I can literally just look at him and I'm like, what's wrong? And I can just from the way his eyes look, I can tell if there's something that he wants to discuss. But before I had that shorthand, sometimes he wouldn't fight and he would hold things in for too long. So
the red flag for me isn't how much you fight, if you're holding things in. So on the outside, it could appear like, oh, the relationship's great, we never fight, and but if people are holding things in, to me, that's worse than fighting, because then you're doing life around someone instead of with.
Okay, wait. Let that sink in. You're doing life around someone
instead of with them.
So
that's how drift happens.
Yeah.
And when people hold things in, usually that turns into some form of anger or resentment, and then the behavior of that can be, coping in a lot of different ways, or suddenly they're thinking about other people or what a different relationship could look like. And this is when I think things get dangerous and you drift, right?
Right.
If you're able to fight in a healthy way, that doesn't happen because people are heard. And when people are heard, you feel close to that person. There's a connection.
Yes.
When people are not heard, there's a disconnection.
This is even something that I recommend when I'm coaching clients in dating, to come to the table, come to the first date intending to listen. And I have this masterclass on communication a few episodes ago where I said, aim to listen 70% of the time.
Yes.
And to talk 30% of the time.
Yeah, most people have that flipped.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Or they're like, well, I felt like, it's funny when I do mock dates with my clients and I go and observe them on the date. One of the things we ask is, we ask the practice dater that's with them is, what percentage of the time do you feel like they were talking? And more often than not, when I ask my client, how much did you feel like you were talking and how much did you feel like you were listening? They'd be like 50-50.
Right.
And the answer I get back from the other side, because this person is honestly reviewing them as part of a learning process, is like, it was 10-90.
Right. We're usually coming up with something, an angle, something as the person's talking.
Yeah.
So we're not listening.
Yeah, and we're trying to impress the other person on a date. We're trying to say, like,
Right.
look at all these great things I have. Look how fabulous I am. And then we stop listening and we're already playing it ahead. Like, could I introduce him to my mom? Where could we go for our next vacation?
Or the
It's,
checklist,
like, way too far ahead. Yeah,
Right.
the
We're
checklist.
reviewing them
Yes, we're
without the
reviewing them.
announcement.
That's not helpful. That's not helpful.
Well, it doesn't make you present.
Yes. Being present is super important on a first date, but it's also important in a relationship. And
Yes.
as you're moving into a relationship and looking for ways to bond more, communication really, in my book, is the first stop.
Communication, I think it begins there. The other C word I love is curiosity. Oh,
We're doing an
she gave me a
innuendo.
warning with her eyes.
No,
The other C word I love is curiosity.
I love that word too.
Yes, and I
Give
think
me your definition of bringing curiosity into the relationship.
pulling from wonder instead of judgment. I just did a video about this outside in the parking lot. Most of us, our default is judgment, right? How you do something, everything from the socks on the floor to the way what you're eating and all of that. And I think if that's where we pull from, there's always going to be conflict and anxiety. But instead, if you're just curious, right? When you feel the judgment and you're like, I wonder why she does that, without judging, because I want to know more about her and how that's tied to her story and what she gets out of that, then you're expanding yourself and the ceiling's gone. So now it's all about, I think that's what creates the soil for connection, is when you're curious.
Now you're making me think about dirty socks on the floor, John. Because
Well, be curious about that. Don't judge him.
no. I'm going somewhere with this because sometimes I'll do hot lists and searches for my clients on dating sites and apps, and I have to just say, you talk to guys a lot and help them through dating and relationships, but oh my goodness, male dating profiles are really at an all-time low. And there was one that is sticking out in my mind from a search I did this week, where this guy, one of his pictures was of him like in his bedroom with his dirty laundry basket in the background. And so I passed some judgment. I'll be honest. I passed some judgment on him. I was like, what is this trying to say? You want a woman to come in here and do your laundry? Maybe.
I would
saying that.
label that as information, not judgment. You're just taking in the information, and yeah. I mean,
I
that's
judged a
fair.
little bit. I judged.
Sure.
Because I was like,
Sure.
you couldn't have a better picture here that really shows you as someone that my client would want to date. But how can men present themselves better when we're talking about attracting women? And maybe we break this down into, on a dating app, it's initial impressions and initial judgments, but then out in the real world, it's a separate thing.
I think the first thing is to be you. I talk a lot about your solid self versus your pseudo self, and we all have this inside of us. Our solid self is our authentic self, right? That's truly who we are. It's usually a faint whisper. Our pseudo self is our self that seeks validation, approval. Our pseudo self has been formed by society, commercials, advertising. And when we're out on a date, we're usually pulling from our pseudo, what we've done, the letters after our name, the money we make, the car we drive, all of that. And so there's a lot of posturing going on. Yeah. And I think that backfires, I think it's less about the resume and more about who you are. So my tip would be to always pull from your solid self, your truth. You're going to save a lot of time too, because
easier
if they're
said than done, though.
yeah, that's it. It takes a lot of courage, and most of us don't exercise that muscle. But you're going to save a lot of time, because if you don't, it's false advertising.
Yeah.
Well,
let's give people some methods for getting in touch with their authentic self. You have written a book, I Used to Be a Miserable F.
Yes.
You have changed. You have evolved. Talk about that process for you and how other people might be able to get in touch with this more authentic version of themselves.
Yeah, so in my 20s and 30s, I was very pseudo. So I was very wanting to seek approval and validation. I cared what everyone thought. And so when you live like that for a long time, you start to become invisible inside. So I was living a life that was outside in instead of inside out. And then after my divorce, I basically had no friends, no money, I had nothing. So I had nothing to lose. And I created a blog called The Angry Therapist, and I pulled the curtain back and decided to just be vulnerable. and I just, I'm broken, I'm hurting, I'm going through a divorce, I'm a therapist, how can I help you? And that kind of set the tone. And then I started to play with that. Like, what would it look like to actually show myself? What would it look like to just be me? And at the time, because I didn't have a lot of friends or any, I had nothing to lose. So I understand it's much harder if you do have a social network and then suddenly, start pulling from your solid, because you're going to get pushed back. People aren't going to be used to that, right?
Yeah.
And so that's difficult. I get it. But when you do that, you shake your tree. And I think the people that support you and champion you need to be in your lives. And the people that don't, maybe they're the people that are also bringing you down.
Right. And
You
those
know?
people that are also miserable Fs that
Yes.
are looking, misery loves
Right.
company. Isn't
Right.
that the saying?
I agree.
So, and sometimes I see this also with my female clients that are ready to date, and they come to me with the desire for a new dating plan, but then they're still in the same social circle and around the same people that are keeping them single, that are saying like, "Oh, men suck. Why even bother? Let's just hang out," and kind of pulling them away from that life that they really truly want. But there are other behavioral things that men can do to kind of step up to a higher level. I've seen that you have some do's and don'ts for men. Don't choose passion over purpose. Do make your bed. Why do make your bed? I need to get better at this.
I never made my bed. I didn't think it made sense. Why make your bed when 12 hours later it's going to get messed up anyway? Who cares? No one's coming over. But then I learned that making your bed, you're not just telling yourself, but you're telling the world you're going to go out to do something. And I think this is what's important. It's not just the cleanliness of making your bed. It's the internal dialogue of, I'm making my bed, I'm going out, I'm going to go do something today. I was just sloppy, never made my bed, and my life kind of felt like purposeless, and I wasn't doing anything. And so it kind of started there. You wake up and you make your bed and you get shit done. You get started.
Why do you say don't pee in the shower?
Yeah, I get asked this a lot.
I've never peed in the shower. I think is this a guy thing?
Of course you have.
No, I haven't.
Really?
Producer Leah?
I think
Be
everyone,
honest.
she has for sure. Okay, so
Really? Am I the only
I
one?
honestly thought it was a normal thing.
I mean,
Seriously?
people
Wow.
do, and it's not bad. It's
Do you
not
squat?
No.
You just go.
No, you just
Let
go.
it run
Are
down.
we just gonna like talk about my
just
topic?
down her leg.
I thought she couldn't get redder than she was in the first segment, but literally,
Wow.
she looks like a beet right now. Okay, well, I've never peed in the shower. Nothing wrong with it. No judgment.
There's
but-
nothing wrong with peeing in the shower. If your partner is okay with you peeing in the shower, then you could write your name on the wall. It doesn't matter. It's if your partner's like, hey, listen, it grosses me out, don't pee in the shower, and you as a man forget that women have a heightened sense of smell, and you continue to do it anyway, and you chase that shit down with shampoo, and you're like, who cares? She doesn't need to know. Then when she finds out, after she's asked you directly and you said, I'm not, and she knows you are, you're cracking trust. And she's going to wonder, where is he really going tonight? Is he feeding the dog under the table? Like, so it's
It
all...
starts with the peeing in the shower.
Well, it could, but it's basically all the hairline cracks of trust that are made from all the white lies that crumble your whole house of cards. So it's not about peeing in the shower. It's about being honest.
Okay, then what is this about? Don't wear skinny jeans and don't be creepy. And
Oh.
are those two ideas connected?
Yeah, the skinny jeans, it doesn't really go much deeper than other than when you wear skinny jeans, you just look like a pigeon. I don't understand guys who wear skinny jeans. It doesn't make your body look skinny.
Well, it depends on if you're skinny, then you look
If you're
skinny.
right? But I mean, I don't know. I CrossFit, so I have some legs, and I've tried to wear skinny jeans because they were hip at the time, and I seriously look like a pigeon.
Doesn't it also like crush some things
It crushed
down
this
there?
thing. It's it's the male version of a corset. And I was like, what is this?
Cracking me up.
Yeah, so I just don't think that men should wear skinny jeans.
Is it related to the creepiness?
I think it can be creepy, but no. Being creepy is obviously not something that you know what? Creepy comes from fear. You're
Let's
afraid.
break this down.
Yeah.
For real, we're joking, but I do see a lot of guys that are creepy online and
Wearing
send
skinny
creepy
jeans?
I don't see a ton of skinny jeans online, but I see a ton of creepy messages.
Yes.
Can you just, as a dude, just talk to the dudes at home and tell them what is creepy behavior?
Dick pics,
Yeah.
right? Obviously.
Co-sign that.
That's not only creepy, but there's something so intrusive about that.
It's disrespectful.
Well, on so many
Unless
levels.
I've requested it,
Especially when there's
but
like
I won't request it.
And then there's like photos now, like on Instagram, where you can't see the photo, but when you tap on it, it appears. And then you're like, oh, what did I? And you can't unsee that, right? So I don't think that's fair, and I think that's obviously creepy. A lot of people are communicating via DMs. So what kind of messages? A lot of people just flat out say like really inappropriate things, about themselves, about what they want to do to someone, all of that stuff. I think that's very creepy. None of that works.
Yeah. And
Does
the
that
way
ever
you
work?
look at a woman, no, not usually, no. And the way you look at a woman can be creepy.
Yes, I mean if you're
The way you touch a woman can be creepy.
all of that. I mean, just your energy can be creepy.
What is that line though between a guy creating chemistry? I talked about this a little bit in the masterclass episode, but I need a
Intention.
guy's impression of this.
I think everything starts with intention.
Mm-hmm.
I think creepy comes from being afraid to really show yourself. So instead of me saying, "Hey, listen, I'm attracted to you," which is terrifying because you could say I'm not. I could start to be creepy. I could lean against your shoulder. I could give you, like I could, poke you, whatever. In dance clubs, you see a lot of guys that kind of creep up behind you,
I'm
and
having
suddenly they're
flashbacks.
grinding you, and
No.
you're like, "This is not what I signed up for." Wouldn't it be better if they just tapped you on the shoulder and say, "Hey, listen, you're very attractive. Can we dance?"
Yeah, but
Then
then
it's
don't
not-
like grind up on me, okay? Because
right.
that's too much, and that's
Right.
when you cross the creepy line.
Yeah.
And once you cross the creepy line, you can't really go backwards.
No, you're right.
That's
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's over.
It's over.
Tell us a little bit more about I Used to Be a Miserable F.
Yeah.
I know people can get the book on Amazon, and they can look for, just search you as an author, John Kim, if they can't find the F word.
There's actually a
But
lot
they'll
of John
find it.
Kims in this world.
Well, I found it.
Yeah,
The Angry Therapist also. So tell us more about the book and what people will get from reading this book that we haven't talked about yet.
What's interesting is I wrote this book for men, but a lot of women are buying it.
Oh, we
So
like your secrets. That's why.
I guess. I don't know. But I wrote it because it's, I went through my own man journey. I went through the great divide from boy to man after going through a divorce and a rebirth. I had my own eat, love, pray whole experience, right? Mine involved motorcycles and CrossFit and, and all that stuff, not Italy and food and all that. But the manifestation of that was me documenting my life and my revelations, and it turned into this book, which is 66 Do's and Don'ts. And it's not me telling men how they should be men. It's not. It's me saying this is what I did and what I learned. I encourage you to challenge your own definitions and start your own man journey.
I want to go on a woman journey. Maybe that's the sequel book.
You should. And you should write that.
And I love your podcast, The Angry Therapist. So you call it therapy in a shot glass. They are bite-sized episodes, for those of us with the short attention spans, like 15 minutes or less. It's funny you say yours. If people are looking for a show that's like a wine glass, that it's not your show.
Yeah,
I
this-
like to
this
think
is
of
a
this
wine
as
glass.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm like, no, you know what? This is a wine flight. Like we're
Yeah.
a whole.
This is fancy. So my podcast is a complete antithesis of this. It's 15 minutes. I promised myself to not rehearse, so it's a lot of bird walking and stuttering. No pants, cup of coffee.
Yeah, you can't see the pantslessness.
Yeah, and then
Let's add that to the definition, the Dates and Mates definition dictionary.
and a $9 microphone. That's all it is.
Yeah, but it's so direct and so honest. Like you reveal things about yourself, and then you also talk about it from your perspective as a therapist and life coach, how people can live a better life, and everything from what we've been talking about today to like mindfulness and meditation.
Sure, it's whatever. I document full time now, so I basically take a highlighter to my life, and whatever revelations I have throughout the week comes out in my podcast.
I love it. So, and you post like episodes every other day.
Twice a week.
Dang.
Yeah, but they're only 15
Hashtag
minutes.
podcast goals.
Yours are much longer and more produced, so it's harder for you.
Yes, no excuses here. We want to be our best selves all the time. So a lot of our listeners want to be their best selves, and a lot of you have sent in questions this week. We had a lot of questions, and so we'd like to roll into that and get everybody some help on their love lives in our next segment.
Technically dating.
Okay, John Kim, you ready?
Yes, let's do
Put
it.
your therapist hat on.
It's on.
From a listener on Facebook, this question comes. I broke up with a guy about a month ago. He lives out of town, but sometimes he comes into town to work with my group of colleagues. I haven't had any contact with him since I broke it off, but he's coming to town in a couple weeks, and I'm sure I will run into him at work. I don't know how I should act around him. Should I ignore him or be cordial and act friendly? What do you think? Can I give you an addendum to this one?
Yes.
This may be helpful before
Yes.
you answer. She also sent a second message that said, this guy's actually married, and he kept telling her he was going to get a divorce, but he never did. So does that change the calculus?
For me, the answer would be yourself, but with boundaries. I think
Yeah.
you really have to ask yourself what you want from this, and if this is truly over, then you need to draw boundaries, not with chalk, but with Sharpie.
Yeah.
Especially if he's married.
Yeah.
It's
right?
complicated. You don't want your life to,
I don't think it totally changes the calculus for me. I agree with you. Strong boundaries. And you broke it off for a reason. You haven't had contact with him for a reason. So just because he's in the space doesn't mean that you need to engage with him.
Right.
I think you're there with your work colleagues. And this
Right.
is why it's always messy dating someone from work or someone who knows your coworkers or works with your coworkers. It's messy because you're going to cross paths again. And that's when boundaries really are important. So you need to make sure that you are not engaging with him, but still being respectful
Yes.
to,
Don't be
to
a
him
dick.
in a public setting.
right. You don't have to be a dick about it. But
Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be like a little bit of a dick, but
I don't think you should be a dick.
you could be like Ice Queen cold, but don't ignore him. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And definitely, like, if this guy is married, he's not ready for a relationship with you. If there's any part of your mind that's still holding out hope that this might turn around, this is not the one for you.
What is it about women being attracted to married guys or guys that are taken? Is it this idea that if he likes me, that my value goes up because he's already taken? Or is it the
that's a good
challenge, like,
question.
you know what, he's married, I could get him. And if I get him, it means I've won.
I think there's something in the way that a married man might present in a new relationship.
Oh, like
with
he's-
this,
right.
he doesn't have anything to lose because he's already married. So he may be more free with his feelings. He may be more effusive, and that can make a girl feel really special.
Yeah.
But if a guy is like really pursuing a relationship, he might have a little bit more. Might be a little bit more hesitant to share some of the things that a married man would.
Sure.
Well, there are more questions. This one comes to us from Instagram. Fittingly, our listener asks, can you find love on Instagram? Is Instagram for hookups, or can you actually find love from a few likes, comments, and DMs? You just mentioned the DMs, and I'm horrified by this idea of pictures getting bigger.
I think you can. I think you could find love anywhere. So, and I know that people are very frustrated with the dating landscape and swiping. I get all that. But you could find love through a blind date or meeting someone at the grocery store or through Instagram. I mean, many
Absolutely.
people have, you know?
I actually just read an article this week that didn't make the dish, but it was about all the celebrities that actually have connected through Twitter and Instagram. They're actually reading your messages, so you might have a shot. Usually it's celebrity to celebrity, but you might have a shot. Who knows?
But
Who
I do
knows?
think that you can find love on Instagram if you get off of Instagram and make it a real relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Not only if you're
Yeah.
only using Instagram to connect the entire time.
Oh yeah, and like
Right.
PSA, that is not an actual relationship. If you just message each other on Instagram,
right.
or Snapchat, like that's not actually a relationship.
real.
You actually have to
That's the handshake.
touch each other in real
Right,
life.
right. It's a virtual introduction. That's all that is.
How about this one, John? Best advice for someone who moved to a new city and doesn't. Best dating advice for someone who moved to a new city and doesn't know anyone.
Communities. Right now, there's an explosion of people finding their own tribe. So, like in
Yeah.
fitness and drop-in classes, yoga, meditation. Find whatever you are passionate about. Rock climbing, hiking, whatever, and start doing it with communities. And I think that's how you start to meet people authentically. And then you guys have something shared in common. So that's the natural way to meet people, I think. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And a hidden, well,
This
I'll
idea
say-
of going to bars doesn't really.
no, that's
No,
so,
no,
that's
that's
so
80s.
2000. Yo,
Or
I
2000.
was gonna
Sorry.
say,
Oh, you're still doing it. You're like, that's still last week.
Yeah, but don't do it anymore. That's creepy now. But I think it's also about building the community, as you said, around you, not just in dating. You're in a new city. You need friends.
Yeah, no, not
You
just
don't
in
just
dating.
need a date.
Yeah, no, you
could
need mandates. And
Go on
woman dates.
Tinder,
Yeah.
and that will hook up the dates for you. But you need to
Yeah.
find your community, as John
I
said.
think you need to find your community before even looking for love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
And get your bearings and get your sense of self. Because also, how interesting is it to date someone if they're like, oh, I don't know anybody. I'm not into any activities. I don't have any hobbies. Like, I just want to be with you all day.
That's exactly what happens. It becomes very lopsided if all you have is this one person that you've met you're excited about, but nothing else. Then all the weight is on that.
Yeah, it's too
Yeah.
much. Another one. This is a little tricky. Rebuilding after infidelity while long distance.
Yes.
How to tell if he's being honest. He's kind of sketch right now. He might be wearing skinny jeans.
I would first really evaluate the relationship and ask yourself why you want to be in this, because it's going to take a lot of work. And I'm saying this from working with thousands in the last 10 years. Infidelity is one of the hardest things to heal from and to move on. When there's cheating, most people can't survive it.
Yeah, and
It always
especially
comes
if
up.
you're separated from one another by distance.
Both people have to want it, and you have to see it as an event that happened that is outside that you can't blame someone for. And so that is so hard to do because people will hold it as leverage, or hey, remember that one time you cheated? It always keeps, and then it just keeps on until it just doesn't work anymore. And then on top of that, if you add long distance, which I have a problem with because when you're in long distance, you're always seeing each other. It's the honeymoon. You're not speaking of the dirty socks. You don't see that shit. You don't see the 360 version of the person. You just see the best sides, right?
Yeah.
You don't see when the club lights come on, and you're like, oh.
Back in the 80s, 90s,
Yeah.
2000.
And a relationship is the club lights on all the time.
It sure is.
Right? And
it's
so
the dirty socks all the
it's
time.
all of that, and being in the shower
time.
and all that. And so,
I'm like, my mind is blown about this being in the shower business. I did not even know that.
I think you're gonna
and
go
my
home-
husband is way too clean. He's a Virgo. He's a
Right.
neat freak. There's no way he pees in the shower. I'm going to ask him when I come home.
I
but
think you should try it just to see what it feels like, just to have a new experience.
I don't think that's right for me.
Oh
Yeah, literally everybody I know. Like,
no, everyone pees in the shower.
Well, now I have to do it.
Yeah, you have to do it.
I've been
You're gonna
challenged
have
by
FOMO.
John Kim.
Yeah, I think you should and lean into it and just be like, wow, this is an interesting experience, and don't judge it. Be curious. Be curious about the peeing in the shower.
I'm super uncomfortable right now, but I'm going to do it. And I will write to you and let you know
Okay,
how it
perfect.
changed my life.
But yeah, that's my advice: is really ask yourself if this is worth investing in, because not only infidelity but long distance is going to make this very challenging too.
And there's just so many question marks when you're separated from one another. You're not there to be able to check up and see
Yeah.
that he came home.
Yeah.
So you'll be wondering the whole time if he's out with
You have
somebody
to
else.
really trust a person.
Yes, and you have to
Again.
have really clear communication.
Yes.
I like how I stumbled on clear communication when I was saying clear communication.
The other C word that I really love is connection, and so
Wait, what are all these C's? Curiosity, connection,
communication.
communication.
Those are the 3 C's.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yes. So if it's long distance, you have to be connected with that person constantly. So whether it's text, whatever, smoke signals, I don't know, however you do it, you have to be connected.
That's a good segue into our final question for today's episode from Instagram. New relationship. We live 5 hours apart. I really like him. Tips for doing long distance. I love the Instagram questions because they're very staccato, right? On Facebook, we get like the life story. On Instagram, it's just new relationship, 5 hours, go, John Kim.
I'm just going to plug and play. Take what we just said, the 3 C's, meaning communication. Make sure you're always communicating. Connection. Use your phones. There's no reason why you can't connect with the person today. I'm not saying to like bombard them where you have no life, but texting, sexting, being flirtatious, all of that.
He said sexting.
Yeah, why
He
not?
said- I'm not a fan of sexting.
I mean,
I don't pee in the shower, so why would I sext? I mean,
we
obviously.
need to have a conversation off of this. I think sexting can be hot as long you got to feel the person
I'm
out.
not
and
saying
make
it's
sure-
not
yeah.
hot. I'm just scared of the cloud.
I think foreplay happens when you wake up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
So that's what I mean by flirting and sexting. Email, all of that, videos, FaceTime, so connection, and then the final piece is pulling from curiosity,
Yes, I agree with that.
discovering people.
And I would also say, gosh, that is a challenge. 5 hours apart. There has to be the plan at some point, I think, for the two of you to be in the same
Yes,
place.
yes.
So one of you has to have the intention or at least the possibility of being able to compromise on that, because I know of one couple in my life that has successfully lived long distance and maintained their marriage.
How often do you see each other? in person?
Weekly.
Okay, right.
He would fly home every week, and now they're at a point where he mostly is in the same space as her, and and has kind of flipped the amount of time that he works.
If it was monthly, I don't think it would work.
No,
No way. So I
No,
think
it's
weekly
hard.
would be the minimum, I think.
weekly is the minimum. Okay, that was going to be my next question, but you just answered all my questions like before I even asked them. We're so connected, John Kim. This is so fabulous. So I want to encourage everybody to check out your podcast,
thank
The
you.
Angry Therapist. And then you have so many resources for people, not only on Instagram and social media at The Angry Therapist, but also at your website, which is also theangrytherapist.com. And that's where people can access your Bulletproof Your Relationship
Yeah,
program
that's
and
an
more.
audio course, and I also have a startup called Journey, JRNI, and we certify life coaches. So there's a lot of people now wanting to help other people in a way that's unique to them, and so we have like a 20-week training program on how to be a life coach.
I love it. I have so enjoyed having you on the show. And I'm really excited for my listeners to get their hands on I Used to Be a Miserable F. And you can order it there on Amazon.
Yes, it's wide.
Get your life together. Thanks to John Kim. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me and helping me create this dialogue.
Absolutely.
All right.
One more thing we have to talk about before the show ends today. A new study from the Meet Group shows that singles feel most shamed from close friends and social media today. And so I need to take a few minutes, maybe 1 minute, producer Leah, to talk to you about single shame. One of my big game changers in dating strategy is first to become visible. If you aren't online and sending outgoing messages there, if you're not going outside of your normal routine, if you're not talking to strangers as you go through your day, you're not asking someone for setups, you're essentially invisible in dating. But it's not your fault. One of the reasons that people shy away from putting themselves out there is because of single shame. We've all been sold a bill of goods from romance novels and rom-com movies. We believe that we have to live our lives according to a particular timeline in a particular way, and that's simply not true. The first step in making any life change is to get clear on what you want and then speak it out to the world. So whether you are 30, 40, 50, or beyond, there's no shame if you're currently single. And there's no shame in acknowledging to yourself and others that you would like a partnership. This acknowledgement sometimes comes in the form of a flirty glance on the subway, or asking a friend for an introduction, or going to a singles event that you feel a little embarrassed to attend. But if you're single and you'd rather be partnered, don't let the shame of singlehood keep you single anymore. That's it for today's show. Oh, producer Leah, we got a new review.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us what they said?
Yeah. Melanie R 1980 from Switzerland
Hello,
says,
Switzerland.
Yeah, amazing content, an amazing host. Damona has great energy and talks about current topics from an expert point of view. Definitely great help when wanting to find true, lasting love.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Melanie. Yes, and I think this show really solidified that. Looking for lasting true love. A lot of the tips today you can put into practice to get you there. And if you have something to say about the show, if you love the show, you want to help us reach more people, heal more hearts, just take a few moments to leave us a review on iTunes, Apple Podcast, or wherever you listen. It truly does make a difference in keeping Dates and Mates going, maybe for another 6 years. We've been going 6 years strong. So maybe we can reach even more people who need this advice thanks to your reviews. I hope you enjoyed episode 248 of Dates and Mates. Tell me your dating and relationship troubles so we can give you the advice you need on a future show. Thank you to everyone who sent in so many questions this week on Facebook and Instagram. Sorry I didn't get through all of them, but they could be answered on a future show. And yes, you could really have your question answered by me and by my esteemed guests like John Kim. So you can send me your questions, message me, tell me what you like about the show at Damona Hoffman on all of the socials. We'll be back again next week with more love advice for the modern world. Until then, I wish you happy dating.